You're gazing at one of the coolest cars from the 1980s that you've never heard of. What is this thing? This is my 1988 Chevrolet Nova Twin Cam. I love this little car. This unique vehicle has many stories to tell, from the unexpected partnership between General Motors and Toyota, to its stratospheric 7,500 RPM redline, to how it was kind of a sales flop. The formula for the Nova Twin Cam was simple. Take an existing Econobox, load it up with some go-fast parts, improve the handling, make it look super rad, and see if anybody buys it. Unfortunately for General Motors, not that many people bought them. Built for the 1988 model year only, about 3,300 of these cars were built, accounting for only about 3% of total Nova sales. And if you think this car looks like a Toyota Corolla, it's because that's what it is, sort of. The Nova is essentially a rebadged Japanese market Toyota Sprinter, which itself is a rebadged Corolla. But this car wasn't built in Japan. All 5th generation Novas were built in Fremont, California, part of a joint operation between Toyota and General Motors. More on that in a bit. So what makes this Nova Twin Cam special? Here's what you get over a base model Nova. The Twin Cam came with Toyota's renowned 16-valve 4A GE motor with dual overhead camshafts and a ridiculous 7,500 RPM redline. Endowed with 110 horsepower, the Twin Cam far surpasses the paltry 74 horses found in the base Nova. You also got sport suspension, disc brakes on all corners, aluminum wheels, and a leather-wrapped steering wheel. That may not sound like much today, but back in '88, it was a significant upgrade. The Twin Cam came in any color you want, as long as that color was black. You got a sweet red stripe, red trim Chevy bow tie emblem, Twin Cam badges, a two-tone interior, and a special gauge cluster. So let's get back to the surprising joint effort between GM and Toyota. Back in the 80s, GM was losing market share, profits were down, and their factories were closing. And their small cars were, by most accounts, unreliable turds. By contrast, Toyota was building exceptionally high-quality cars. Toyota had to manufacture in the US to grow, and GM wanted to reopen an idle plant, so they teamed up and created NUMMI. GM provided the factory, Toyota provided the production expertise. The factory they chose was GM's Fremont, California plant, once called a dysfunctional disaster, rife with on-the-job drinking, absenteeism, and defective vehicles. With Toyota's manufacturing methods, this same factory was transformed into one of GM's best, using the exact same workers. This plant produced the Nova along with many other Toyota and GM branded cars from 1984 to its closure in 2010. The factory now produces Teslas. The interior of this car is decidedly utilitarian, but it's actually quite a bit nicer than a lot of the economy car interiors of the 1980s. The car came with a leather-wrapped steering wheel, but it had seen better days, so I sewed on this cover. Only $8 from Amazon. It took a couple hours to sew on, but it looks pretty good. I owned a base model 86 Nova back in the day, and that one also had this weird, useless cubby in the middle of the dash. Apparently an optional clock can be fitted here, but in my entire lifetime I've never seen this generation Nova or Corolla with this option. And no cup holders, because 1980s. Where am I gonna put my fancy LaCroix? Alright, let's go see what the back seat's like. So I'm about 6'3", and back seat space for this car is a little bit cramped, but this seat's all the way back, and it's not too bad. It's actually pretty decent use of space for such a small car. And as you can see, I need a new headliner. It's on my list of things to do. Haven't gotten to it yet. Well, yeah, I guess it is a little bit hard to get out of this thing. Ugh. Today we'll be driving on Angeles Crest Highway, one of the best driving roads in the Los Angeles area, and let this little twin cam stretch out its legs. Let's go step into this weird old car and get going. Angeles Crest Highway is one of the most iconic roads in Southern California. This 66-mile thoroughfare carves a path through the San Gabriel Mountains and the Angeles National Forest. This road was actually built using prison labor. Construction started in 1929, it stopped because of World War II, and they finished it up in 1956. This is an incredibly fun road to drive. There are many sweeping curves and switchbacks, climbing up all the way to 7,900 feet, making it one of the highest roads in Southern California. The Twin Cam was very well received when it came out. Back in February 1988, Motor Trend said, just the sound of shifting at 7,000 RPM is worth the price of admission. The engine alone beams the Nova into another world. 30 years later, I'm gonna have to agree with that assessment. So this car weighs just over 2,300 pounds. That's about the same as a mid-2000s Mazda Miata. It's not incredibly fast in a straight line, but it's surprisingly agile. Canyon carving in this car is actually kind of a blast. Yes, there's a little bit of understeer when you push the car really hard, but it sorts itself out pretty quickly. One thing I'm noticing is how light the rear end of this car feels when you push it around the corner. Not in a disconcerting way, it's actually kind of fun. It allows you to feel the back of the car rotating around the corner. This thing's a little beast of a car. Who knew an Econobox riding on 13-inch tires could be so much fun? Back in the day, Motor Trend recorded a 0 to 60 time of 10.3 seconds. A few months later, Car and Driver managed to do 0 to 60 in 8.7 seconds. And you gotta keep in mind, those are pretty respectable times for the era. I mean, an 88 Camaro with a huge 5-liter motor could only do it in 8 seconds. Let's take a quick stop at Newcomb's Ranch. This is the only private property along this whole stretch of highway. On the weekends, this place is usually hopping with motorcycles and cars, but today, just a couple guys driving around on their dirt bikes. Now we've reached Old Highway 39, which has been closed for many years due to persistent landslides. Actually, Angeles Crest Highway itself has been closed many times for the same reason. It's pretty weird being on a road that people haven't driven on in decades. Yeah, there's a slide right there. So why is this twin cam model so rare? There's likely a few reasons for this. 1988 was the last year for the Nova, and this was the only year that the twin cam model was made. The base Nova sold for $87.95, and the twin cam model sold for $11,395. GM had a really hard time getting people to pony up so much money for what was essentially a premium small sporty car, when a Camaro could be had for about the same price. And calling this car a Nova certainly affected sales. The older, more traditional Chevy brand loyalists didn't approve of a Toyota-based Nova. And the Chevy name didn't appeal to Toyota buyers due to its association with unreliable cars. Cars from the 80s were often viewed as cheap, disposable appliances. Once major problems arise, many of them were just junked. It's very possible that some of the 3,000 twin cams that were built may have ended up in the jaws of a junkyard crusher. It's not until very recently that cars from this era have started to receive some love and appreciation. Mostly from Gen Xers like myself that saw these cars buzzing around during their youth. Now we're just old enough to have some nostalgia for these cool little Econoboxes. Well, there you have it, the 1988 Chevrolet Nova Twin Cam, one of the coolest, most fun cars that you've never heard of. Well, now you've heard of it. I'm grateful that I was able to find this incredibly rare twin cam and keep it on the road. And I'll continue to put it through its paces for as long as I own it, which will be for a very long time. This car is a keeper. I love this thing. Thanks for watching. So I'm not really into car specs, I'm not a great mechanic, and I don't own any supercars. So if the car videos you like to watch require those criteria, then this probably isn't the channel for you. I like to make movies about the stories behind our cars, the adventures the cars take us on, the places that we go, the people that we meet, the things that we learn along the way. If that's the kind of thing you're into, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll have a new video for you in a couple weeks. See you later.